You're listening to LSPN, the authority on sports-related podcasts.
Welcome to the Calhoun Football Show. I'm your host, Chris Daly, and each week I will sit down with Coach Hrncir and discuss Calhoun Sand Crabs football. We also want to mention our appreciation for Miller's Seafood. Owned and operated by Sand Crab alumni, Miller's Seafood is the place for all your seafood needs. Shrimp, fish, oysters, and many others too numerous to mention, along with knowledgeable service and great prices. Sand Crab football is spoken here. 1102 Broadway in Port Lavaca, or call 361-552-6423. That's Miller's Seafood. All right, everybody join me and welcome Coach Hrncir to the show. Coach, how are you doing today?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Yeah, I tell you, I know it probably still stings, but I'm assuming now you've had a few days, now you're looking at the big picture next year.
Yeah, it still stings a little bit. I told our kids that practicing on Thanksgiving was one of those special things that not a lot of kids in the state of Texas get to experience, and we came up just short of that. And so I promise you I'd rather be out there practicing football and getting ready for our next opponent than sitting at home and enjoying some turkey. But it is nice to see the family a little bit and kind of take a step back and look at the season as a whole. But yeah, it certainly still stings a little bit.
Yeah. And I tell you, the fact that this being your first year as a head coach, the fact that you almost got there, you got to, like you said, that's like a goal line that so many coaches put short of a state championship. That's the next big one, is be practicing on Thanksgiving. And you almost made it in your first year. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people come up to me and shake my hand and congratulate me and pat me on the back and all those kinds of things and tell me how proud they were of us this year and what, how good of a season we had. And I'll be honest, my expectations were a little higher and my standards were a little higher. And so there's a certain sense of disappointment and sort of regret. And you go back and you look at calls and you question things and moves that you make and all those kinds of things are going through my head. But I think any kind of coach is going to be self-reflective and try to figure out ways that we can do better next time. But I'm certainly appreciative. And when I step back and take a look at the big picture, I'm proud of what our coaches and our kids were able to accomplish this year. And certainly in my first year, like I said, my expectations were very high. So, I don't think I'll ever be satisfied. I mean, we might make it to the state championship one day and I'll still be thinking, okay, well, what can we do to make this a little better? And that's just kind of how my brain works. But I'm certainly appreciative of all the kids that gave me effort this year and came out and played football and, made this season what it was.
Definitely. And I tell you that Davenport team, talking to quote unquote experts around the state, they were expecting Davenport to win this one more easily. And seeing the transformation at Calhoun, I was telling them, look, this is a tougher Calhoun team than you realize. And you started off 14-0. Talk about the flow of that one.
Yeah, we came out. We won the coin toss and we won the ball. We've done that a lot this year, and I've always liked our offense starting the games. I feel like I script the games pretty well at the start. I put a lot of time and effort into my call sheet and script in the beginning of the game, and we came out and we hit them in the mouth pretty good, and we converted a big fourth down right that we actually scored on fourth down. We put in a formation that we hadn't showed all season yet, and we put Cabrales in the backfield really more than he's been, and that kind of gave us an advantage early on, and we were able to kind of mitigate some of their speed, and really we just kind of ran right at them, and we've been a really explosive offense all year long, and so those explosive plays, we dialed up a few explosives as well, and we were able to really, like you said, go up on them early and kind of get a jump on things, and we knew we were going to have to take a few risks, and early on most of those risks paid off, and so I was really pleased with the way we were able to play early in that game. Like you said, the Davenport, we knew that they were a talented team. We watched them on film, and there were certainly some standout players on that team that that stood out, and we knew we were going to have to try to either run away from people or try to do things to kind of like limit how much they could affect us. And you know, there were times in the game we did a better job than others. We still, we were, you know, all you can ask as a coach is to try to have a chance to be in it and win it late. And, you know, it was really a back and forth kind of game. We jumped on them early, and then everything kind of settled down. You kind of get into that flow of the game, and then they hit us back, and then we got them back. And then, you know, they kind of jumped up on us pretty good in the mid part of the game. Mm-hmm. And we, you know, they were 21-14 right before half, and we were driving to try to score, and we just didn't quite get it in the end zone at halftime. So they carried a 21-14 lead into half, and you know, those were points that, you know, we talk about it all the time, but like the last 2 minutes of the half and the last 2 minutes of the game are kind of a vital time, and you really got to try to win those sections of the game. And that was one of the things we didn't do this time. Like they got us right there at the end of the half. And then, you know, as we kind of fought our way back into it, we had a few big plays. Again, Cabrales scored on a big read play when we had, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like third and very long. It was like 3rd and 20-something. And he kind of broke one open and scored on a probably 50 or 60-yard touchdown and got us back in the game. And we tied it up late. And it was one of those things like you live by the sword and you die by the sword. But it was 28-28 late in the game. Our defense came up with one of the biggest stops of the game. They punted the ball to us, and I can never fault a kid for fighting for more yards. But our punt returner was fighting for extra yards on that punt return, and they popped the ball loose, and they got the ball on their own 10 or 12 yard line going in. And so, and then our defense kind of rose to the occasion again and held them to a field goal. And so they went up to 31-28, and we got the ball again, and we were driving the ball, and we had we put in an old Tim Tebow style quarterback jump pass sort of thing on it was a 4th down call. They had us a 4th and 2 or 3, and I was trying to make a big play, and we completed it and got a 25, 27-yard gain. We're kind of moving into their territory. Here we go. I really felt like I still had the confidence we were going to go in and punch it in and win the game right there. Yeah. And again, it's hard to fault a kid, but our the receiver of that little jump pass was fighting for extra yards and just kind of got spun around funny, and so that helmet of the opponent hit right on the ball and popped the ball out. And so really at the end of the day, you look at the game, and two key fumbles at the end of the game, and it was really hard to survive both of them. And I think if you only had one, maybe we still maybe edged that game out. But having 2 turnovers late against a really good football team, you know, good football teams have a way to beat you when you give them the ball, and we just couldn't overcome those late turnovers.
Definitely. And you know, now that we've wrapped the season, when a coach goes to a new position, it's usually one of 2 things with the seniors. Either, you know, if somebody's been in the system, maybe a coordinator moving up, you know, there's not a lot of change. It doesn't affect very much. But if you come in like you did and you drastically change what's happening there, you know, the seniors either have to come on board or like just walk away. So talk about the seniors and how important it was that they bought into the system. You
know, early on, they really had the choice. Like you said, they could buy into what we were selling, or they could kind of go away and say, hey, this isn't for me. And credit to those kids. I mean, you have a whole new staff, new head coach for sure, but even most of the staff, we had very few guys stay from the last staff, and so almost every face in the building is new, you know, for those guys, and for those guys to sort of accept us and me personally, you know, for them to sort of embrace me the way that they did, it really meant a lot. It really did, and to myself and my family for us coming to a new place, a new town, and this is a place we want to call home, and this is a place I want to raise my kids, you know, for them to sort of, you know, even it's a small thing, but you look at it. My son is one of our ball boys. He's the one that always runs out and gets the kick and pee, you know, after we kick, and to see the way some of our kids like have embraced him, and they're kind of like joking around on the sideline. And it's those little moments like that show you who people really are and the types of kids we have and what we're trying to build, this sort of family atmosphere. And it really made me appreciative of coming here and trying to make this place a home. And those seniors, I have to give a lot of credit to them. After the game, it hurts anytime the season ends so abruptly. It's the same for, I told the kids, guys, after the game, I said only one team in each division ends the season with a win, and every other team in the state ends their season with a loss. And the reality of the situation is guys, life is going to hit you hard sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you have to, I hope the things we did this season with building family, community service, character development, and all those other things that we did, I hope it prepares them for life outside of football, because in the end, this is a game. And we use this game to teach so many life lessons and prepare these kids to be good husbands and fathers and citizens. Everybody talks about they want to be a Division I college football player. I want to go D1. I want to go D1. But I told the kids, hey, I want you to be a D1 citizen. And that's what we're trying to get them ready for. And so for our seniors, you mind if I shout out my seniors here? I don't know if I'll get another chance, but for Jaden Farrow, Ethan Ramirez, Isaiah Cabrales, Brandon Gavah, Ishmael Iglesias, Holton Hadley, Braden Falcone, Luke Bonus, Samuel Cruz, Bobby Castillo, Brody O'Donnell, Ruben Liu, Cersei, Armando Pettis, Trey Davis, Dakota Pledger, Halston Deckard, Avery Huddleston, Connor Guillen, Gilbert Valdera, Tommy Herrera, Hayes Sullivan, William McClellan, Andrew Bingham, Gunnar Evans, and Logan Middahl. Those guys, I really have to say thank you, guys. I hope you're listening to this. And, from the bottom of my heart, you made this season a memorable one, because, my first season, you never know what to expect. You come in and you kind of change everything. And if these kids wouldn't have bought in, things could have gone horribly wrong, and we wouldn't be sitting here talking about, second round of the playoffs and by-district champs and, playing a really tough Davenport team all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, definitely. That's very cool.
That Davenport, after the game, I have to tell you a real quick story. Mm-hmm. Last week on the show, I shouted out the Fallon kid, and I told you that his dad and uncle played for Coach Denher in Calhoun, and I was leaving the field, and I was kind of down a little bit, and I was kind of walking off, and I just hugged my family, and there was one of those kind of moments where I was walking alone, and a gentleman that I didn't recognize said, "Coach, hey, can I have a moment?" And he walked up to me, and it was Thomas Fallon. It was the father of the kid, and he said, "Coach, hey, I heard your radio show, and I just want to let you know that's a heck of a team you got there. Coach Denner would be proud of you."
Oh, I love that. Gosh, give me goosebumps here.
Well, I mean, for somebody that played for Danaher, certainly that meant a lot for him to say. And for me, coaching with Coach Danaher and Steve Campbell over there and all those Calhoun guys, for him to say that I'll probably remember that more from the evening than anything else. That was a nice little moment.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you for sharing that. And I tell you, the other reminder there from that story is, hey, advertisers, pay attention. People are listening. So let's talk about, you mentioned a lot of seniors there. So
I did. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I said their name. I didn't say all their names on senior night when we talked, so I wanted to make sure I shouted those guys out.
Well, the next question is, does that mean the cupboard is bare? Tell me what we have coming back.
There are a lot of seniors that I just named off, but I won't say the cupboard is bare. I mean, we certainly are losing some production. Isaiah Cabrales had over 2,000 all-purpose yards. I think he had like 2,200 all-purpose yards. Yeah. He had over 1,000 yards rushing, and he had like 900 yards receiving. And I think 19 total touchdowns, something like that. A couple interceptions on the defensive side of the ball. So certainly that production won't be with us anymore. But I think we'll be a different kind of team. One of the challenges as a coaching staff that we're going to face, that any staff faces, is how to evaluate your talent for the next year, and not to realize or to realize that you're not the same team. Right. I know that we don't have another Isaiah Cabrales just waiting in the wings. And so from a schematic standpoint, I know our offense will look a little bit different. I'm not going to ask a kid that doesn't have that skill set to do the exact same job that we asked him to do. That's kind of, that doesn't really serve a purpose. And so we'll be a little bigger. I think we're going to be, most of our offensive line is coming back. We are losing Andrew Bingham and Hayes Sullivan, our left tackle and our right guard. But we have our other guard, our center, and our right tackle back. They're young, and they're big, strong guys. And so I think we're going to be better on the offensive line. Just another year in the system, just kind of in general, will help. We have Gunnar Martinez coming back at the running back position. He was our leading rusher outside of Isaiah, and so I think we'll be a little more run heavy. It'll be nice because I'll have a quarterback now that's been in the system for a year. We do have to find him some targets to throw the ball to, but because obviously, like I said, Isaiah's gone, but also Holden Hadley, our other strong receiver, is gone as well, and we do have a little Isaiah Morales back. He was kind of our slot receiver kind of kid, and so we do have a few people. Jojo Baldera, who is our F or our fullback, he's back as well. So our backfield is pretty much intact, like completely, with a pretty decent offensive line coming back. Yeah. And then, and like I said, we just need to find a couple of receivers out on the edges, and I feel like offensively we'll be kind of hitting the ground running. And I mean, you look on the defensive side of the ball, and I mean, it might be even more positive. The big loss in my mind is Ruben Liu. He's our middle linebacker. He's kind of the quarterback of the defense. So yeah, sure, losing him is going to hurt a little bit. But if you look at like our D line and you look on the edges, yeah, we're losing like a Luke Bonus, who plays nose for us. But we got Jesus Jaramillo coming back, who was one of our better defensive linemen. You look on the edges, we got Gavin Reyes coming back. I think he had like 14 sacks this year. And so, you got some guys on that defensive side. And then on the back end, everybody is young. I mean, we're losing Jaden Farrow, who is our starting corner. And Isaiah played some spot duty out there. But you got Bryce Brown coming back at the other corner spot. Both safeties were both sophomores this year. And so they'll both be back, Max Andreas and Avery Setlick. So, on the back end, we'll be as good as we've been. We just need to find a couple of linebackers to kind of fill in some spots for, we had a pretty senior linebacking core. And so once we figure that out, once we, fit those guys in, I think we'll be kind of hitting the ground running on the defensive side of the ball, which is nice.
Yeah, sounds good. And being that, I played receiver when I was in high school, and cornerback, what I took away from that was, hey, if you're a young athlete at Calhoun and you're a receiver, you should spend the off season working hard because there's some openings.
Yeah. I mean, certainly a receiver and like, there's a few other names here I didn't mention, but like Dane Spencer's a name that you're probably going to hear a lot next year. He played linebacker for us, and he was, he also played a little bit of D-line. He's got that body frame where he can play with his hand down and he can play up in the middle. So, I mean, he's going to be a big part of what we're doing. We have a couple guys, like one of our blocking backs was Jacob Martinez. He'll for sure, he was a sophomore this year, kind of a bubble kid. We weren't even sure if he was going to be a varsity kid. And by the end of the season, he ended up being a big part of what we were doing offensively, more of a blocking role. But I could see him taking on one of those like receiver kind of spots later. He's he's a basketball player. So, and then I really need to mention, I almost didn't say anything, but Raymond Cervantes, who is our starting tight end this year, is coming back. And I mean, he is a big back. He looks like a power forward out there. So, he'll probably be one of our bigger targets next year. So, I could see us being a lot more run heavy, a lot like offense going through the tight end, that kind of thing that you see some of the NFL teams kind of going through these days.
Excellent. Well, we're talking about next season already, but the school year still has a lot to go. Talk to me about the off season, what it means for you, the coaches, and the athletes.
Well, we're certainly starting the off season a little earlier than we wanted to. It's nice when you don't have to start that first phase of the off season until after Christmas. I've been in a couple of situations where that happened, but we'll have this little phase where we lead in, after Thanksgiving, leading up into Christmas, where you have a couple of weeks, really just to work on, refining your strength development stuff, making sure the plan is in place. You'll do some testing to get everybody sort of a baseline. Like when I say testing, I mean like weight testing, like everybody's getting maxes and all those kinds of numbers, and you're collecting some data so you can punch those numbers in, and everybody sort of has this starting place to start building themselves back up again. when we start the spring, we'll start with, one of the things I felt like we needed to work on, and me being very honest here, our discipline wasn't exact in terms of like football on the field. Discipline wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be. We had far too many pre-snap penalties, whether that was offsides on the defensive side or a pre-snap motion or lining up, the receiver's not on the line when he's supposed to be on the line. And so we end up with too many guys in the backfield or, those kinds of things. We had far too many of those kind of, what I call inexcusable penalties because you're giving free yards away because those are things you should be able to fix on your own. And so we're going to start with a boot camp and if, by this point, everybody knows if I say like Judson style boot camp, everybody knows kind of what I'm talking about. There'll be mat drills and there'll be command weights and probably some jump ropes and those kinds of things and where everything's done on command. And if you make a mistake, you're trying to get the perfect day, you're trying to beat the coaches, if you will, and then get a perfect day. And so that'll go on for a week and a half or 2 weeks, however long it takes for them to get a perfect day. And I think that discipline will go a long ways into carrying over into just the rest of the program, whether it's how we, flip our washers to take attendance or whatever. It's the little things, whether our toes behind the line when we're doing sprints, those little things become magnified and become big things eventually. And so we're going to make sure we focus early on doing the little things right. And then we kind of have a couple different phases into our off season where I like to have what I call a bulk phase. We're doing high rep volume, just trying to get our bodies a little bit bigger, not necessarily working on power or speed yet. We get into those phases later. So there'll be a bulk phase, there'll be a power phase, and there'll be a speed phase really as we get into a little bit later into the spring. And then once we finish those phases, we'll get into a little bit of football stuff towards the end of the spring. And by that point, we're already working into about the start of summer and what we call Champions Course, and kind of that phase, that last phase, that summer phase is really the most important one because it's the one that leads up into fall camp again. And so we had a really great turnout. Our Champions Course was very well attended last year for the first time. I made the decision last year not to charge. In the past, they had always charged the kids money, and they gave them a T-shirt. But I just said, hey, you know what? If the charge or the money is going to keep one kid from coming out here, it's not worth it. So we're not going to charge them anything. Yeah, they don't get a T-shirt, but we're going to make sure we get as many bodies out here as we can and start building this community and this family. And so our guys and our girls, all of our athletes come out and high school age, middle school age, all of them come out and do some workouts with us in the summer. And it was great last year. I hope the turnout's even better this year.
I love that. And I tell you, Coach, guys, I have to say this. It's been really cool getting to know you. I've really enjoyed working with you on the show. I'm sure we will be talking well before next season, maybe coaching school somewhere else. But if not, I'm sure looking forward to doing it again next year.
And me too, Chris.
Cool. And anything you need, don't hesitate. Reach out.
Yes, sir, for sure.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Did you play Texas high school football? If you did, you're part of an elite group, the Brotherhood of Texas High School Football. All football players, past and present, who have ever suited up in the Lone Star State are eligible. Go to LoneStarGridiron.com/brotherhood. And thank you for the part you played in the greatest sport in the greatest state.